Hello everybody and welcome back to a new episode of the TypeScript Tea Time. I'm your host Mirko and hope you're having an awesome day. This time we're going to continue on our little daily questions app. An app which, well, helps you to answer specific questions every day in the evening. Then we can, for example, visualize all of the fun stuff. If I have some data here, mock some data. Since I'm here on an emulator, mock history does not work. Okay, we broke some. We're up for a good start. We're not even 1 minute in, and we already identified a bug. And let's just say that's a good thing. Identifying them, fixing them is although I'm not too concerned because this is mostly for the mock data or whatever reason. Maybe if we reload. Yep. Okay, that's fine. So usually you answer these questions. That's just a warning because the state is too slow. Other than that, everything's fine. My highlight is said hello to Twitch. And one thing I want to do better, fix or avoid the bug, because there's only one. There we go. Let's go to the terminal for now. Yeah, as I said, these are just warnings that it took more than 33 milliseconds. We are, or no, more than 32 milliseconds, and we are at 33 milliseconds. Not good, not too concerned on that front. Now we have our overview, and as you might be able to see, we up here, we have our reset button, which I was able to implement eventually last time. One thing that I did not check, now we do this, still work? Yeah, now we do not see the app bar anymore, but we still see this icon there as well. Do you want to really want to reset today's dailies? Your history will be preserved. Yes, we're back. Then we're back. I want this in. All right. So I got that one working. It was a bit tricky, to be honest. The most annoying part on that front was a Redux toolkit. Because so when you reset something, you cannot write the following: that dailies old not working is a function which receives state, right? Normally in Redux toolkit, because it's using immer under the hood, is a library which allows you to write stuff like this, but actually not change the state object. At least not this state object. But if you write something like this, state equals initial state, then it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Even though it looks exactly the same. This one doesn't work, but if you write state dot, for example, answers is initial state dot answers, then you also do the same thing for all the others. Initial state dot all answers, and that one, which is exactly the same, or at least you would think that would be the same given that the initial state is exactly these three properties. This one does work, but setting state equal to initial state does not work. And I was like 2 hours or something, I was sitting on this, not expecting that this is not working in Redux. So eventually I found the Stack Overflow entry, where people are also like, it does have a little bit of immutable dark magic, and I thought just setting state equals to initial state would suffice, because in other examples we only need to mutate state, right? Alas, that doesn't work because you're overriding the state object. Well, this is Redux Toolkit. So why would... because it's a complete... I'm replacing the magic immer object. Is that what you're referring to? Because that would actually make sense, now that you mention it. I see. So we're not allowed to override the magic immer object, but we are allowed to set individual properties on the immer object. That does make sense, Homeless. You're not even here for 3 minutes, but you're already super useful. Thank you so much. It's maybe... yeah. Yeah, I haven't checked the underlying Ima.js, to be honest. Originally, I was using Redux before, both in my private projects as well as commercially. Haven't worked with Redux Toolkit though, and in this project I was like, and the new thing, and it's a test learning project after all. Let's just try it. So I was mostly focused on, first of all, getting the switch from Redux to Redux Toolkit, and less concerned about the underlying stuff, which at some point I should at least look up. Immer is indeed German. It means forever or always. Yeah. So thank you so much and welcome back at home. See you. Whether the project is actually... Wow, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. It's from the Netherlands. It's almost. At least very similar from a language perspective. Yeah, apparently the main person is from the Netherlands. I see. Good to know. Maybe in speak. in German it would be, well, how do you in Dutch? That's it. Dutch. Well, it's funny that the word in German, the word for the German people and the German language is Deutsch, but the English people or the British people, they already used Dutch for the Netherlands people. so they had to use German, kind of. There are so many words for the word for describing the folk of the German or the descendants of those tribes, depending on the language. Yeah, so that does actually make sense that I'm not allowed to actually override it. What is annoying though is that it doesn't stop me. That is pretty annoying. I mean, it does say the type says writable draft. This is just the daily state, which is just a plain JavaScript object. So I would have hoped, or I would in this case expect TypeScript to say, not with me. And then say, no, writable draft is not assignable, or daily state is not assignable to a writable draft daily state. But apparently probably it's the structural typing that's making trouble here. So exemplify this. If we have a class A as a property, let's call it prop with a string. Let's just assume it's assigned, and we write a exactly similar function B I think what we can do the following. We initiate A, and now we say const B of type B is A, and that works. Even though the classes are actually different at runtime level, because we're using structural typing. That's the keyword here. This still works. And I suppose that's also the issue that we get here. Writable draft. Having exactly the interface from daily state. So it is assignable, but it's actually not an instance. So yeah, interesting how the language decisions sometimes also get you into trouble. In my case, like two hours of frustratingly logging everything out, and being like, why the hell is this not working? Even though I'm setting the state and I'm doing this and that and that and that, and however, it doesn't work. All right. So the reset, however, it's now there. The way this works now is essentially, where's my navigation app? That when we define all the routes that we have, so these here, and the underlying component that get rendered, I typically say that the header is just the app base, or the base app bar. Looks like this. But in the case of the dailies, I'm actually using a different one. And by the way, using this does not work. This gives me a runtime error. But this works. And here, I'm essentially using the base app bar, but adding another, first of all, this restart button up here, that then gets rendered inside of the base app bar on the right, as well as adding the dialog. And I can just add the dialog anywhere I want, because it's using a portal internally. And the portal gets rendered on top of everything. Kind of is in a sense, it almost seems like it's a second HTML, a second DOM, which can get you into trouble in terms of testing it, because there's no easy way, at least last time I checked, which was a year ago or something. There's no easy way to get to these properties from here, which can be confusing, or at least you gotta really got to inspect the DOM structure to find out what you need to get on the right properties elements. In any event, it does work. We might now be able to do some more simplifications. We still have to-dos here, I suppose. Reset dailies, for example. Currently, from the summary screen, yeah, let's do that one. From the summary screen, I'm currently, okay. Disable the app bar, the regular app bar, and then just have this one where we only have this button up here. This is a kind of separate app bar, does not render the regular app bar because I don't want to show it here, so that you can absolutely concentrate on the question itself and answering the question instead of looking at, being distracted by the app bar. So, however, we still want to be able to reset the dailies, so that's why there's a second app bar which just and only visible inside of the summary screen, which allows you to reset again. Let me close the window because somebody decided to do some work on. Oh, good. If you can still hear something, please tell me. Don't want to mess up the audio unnecessarily. All right, so this button is still there. This button is rendered by this line here. So if the app bar is shown, if the app bar is not shown, the regular one, then at least show this, reset icon. And currently I'm passing down the on reset, but that's not necessary anymore because we are now using Redux. So what I can do instead is use the Redux functionality, which means, let's see, app state, which is a function that receives a state and maps to an object, which then become the properties or part of the properties that get injected here. Here I can say, well, I don't want a state. What I actually want is a function, the function, which is called reset daily. Not daily slice. What did I call it? Reset dailies. There it is. Why you no find? There we go. So we don't need the state in this case because this function does not depend on any state. We could actually make it depend on the state and then only kind of decide inside of here whether we want to show the app bar or this custom app bar or not. But I don't think that's... I like the design where the top component decides whether the component is shown better, to be honest. But that's just a design question in this case. The question is, who has the control? So you could, from a functionality perspective, you could easily put it inside of here. Then we need a connector, which is the connect function. And then we have, well, connect. Here you would put in the object that maps to the properties, the state to the properties, and then on the other one, put a dispatch. Then there is some Redux props from Redux. What do they call it? Can't remember that line. This is just a TypeScript helper, so that you don't have to type it yourself. Bams. And now we should be able to see reset dailies inside of here. And you actually have to use the one from the properties. If you're using the one from up here, it is not connected to the store actually, so it won't do anything. But now we should be able to do this, or I might need to do this, I think. Otherwise I get a warning. Let's try the simple one first. But I do think this one, it might, oh no, never mind. I'm already doing it here. So I think this on button actually provides you with an event. So if I write this, the onConfirm function actually receives the event. Yeah, exactly. Will be. Yeah. The annoying part that I'm referring to is let's just take a short look. Maybe. No, are you not working anymore? Did I break it now? Did I save everything? reset dailies. Yeah, so Redux Toolkit comes with a tool that checks whether you're actually only whether all your actions are actually plain objects. And if I'm doing it like this, I think onPress might actually give me the onPress event, which means the Redux state or the dispatch function, the action creator, sorry, that's the right term. The action creator receives the object, then puts it inside of the action, and then this middleware from Redux Toolkit actually complains. Just one annoyance that you can easily go around by. No, why you no work anymore? Darn. This one is working. Confirm, reset dailies. Ah, see here? It's like the 10th time that I'm forgetting this. But you actually need to use the connector. And wrap your component with it. Otherwise, the injection won't work. Interestingly, it does not throw an error, which I find weird. But that's just how it is. Ah, there we go. This is the error that I'm referring to. Because we're now receiving the event. And that's a different one. A non-serializable value was detected in an action, the path payload, blah, 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 blah. So it's receiving actually not only the event apparently, but it looks like it's receiving a complete React node. But I don't know. Yeah, either I could serialize it, or I can just avoid getting the event. So usually you would. Currently, the function that we have is something like this. Even though we don't know. Ah, my bad. I was in the wrong function. We have something like this. And it does give me the whatever property is given. In this case, I can just avoid passing the event. And that also works. Because my interface actually that I define up here is I receive nothing and I return nothing. This way I make sure that, well, you really don't receive anything, because for whatever reason the button component gives you the event or something else. Just a little. For me, it was. I would consider it an annoyance by the framework, to be honest. That it does give me the event, even though it specifically says, well, you don't receive anything. But yeah, that's just JavaScript being JavaScript. You are allowed to just pass stuff. I think with $sign is for the framework, Angular, the prefix. Yeah. Ah, okay. Is it because of because it's streams, huh? Angular, not just single event objects. It's stream of events, maybe. But that's where I've come across the dollar notation most so far. Other than that, what's it called? The good old jQuery. jQuery also uses it. Probably it's more coming from jQuery instead. In any event, this should work now. And now we kind of got rid of 2 lines and instead wrote 3 lines. 5. Isn't that perfect? the good thing is this component is now more self-contained than it was before. Instead, it's depending on the state now. which I find to be okay because the state is just abstract data. While here it actually depends on rendering. So it's also a question whether you want that. I personally would say yes, that's okay. If somebody gave me a PR where they do something like this, I probably wouldn't say no, to be honest. I mean, it's still correct, and it's a pure design decision whether you want the dependency here or whether you want to have it down. This one we don't want. Okay, thank you. So, but let's take a little note. Does not work for reset, probably due to state currently being an IME object instead of a plain state. Kudos to is it okay if I write your name inside of here? Can also use, oh, that doesn't work apparently. Did I remove my emojis? It's okay. All right, because it's going to be on GitHub. Here's my emoji. Great, thank you. Non-Unix code, non-Unicode characters, always a good idea. Anyway, so that should be one case down. We can say refactor, and this refactor, it says, well, that it's as part of dailies. The part of the app is dailies. Essentially the structure that I'm using for the commit messages. Refactor dailies. That dailies bar independent, what depends on the state direct. There you go. So I think we have some more of these instances. Go to the summary screen again, where we find some more. Answers, those seem to be pendant. Yeah, because this point answer is what exactly? I'd ask, it's this line here. But since we're rendering it depending on the question, I don't think that we can. Yeah, it's a list of point answers, so I don't think we can simplify that, except that we might want to pull this one out as a component. Same here, it's just this line down here. It also depends on the question that comes from the array, and other than that, it does not have any dependencies. Handle share patch the dailies. Why do I use a structure here? I think we can use the structure that we regularly use. So something that I'm missing a parenthesis. And now we have to actually use submit from props. Important. So We have to add it to the dispatch down there. And now it's also wrapped inside of dispatch. That should be identical. I'm not 100% sure why I personally like or why I'm using this version instead of using use dispatch. Probably just my habit from the old project. Yeah, and since I've started using the pattern where I'm using connect, might as well continue. Instead of hooks, we're essentially using a higher order function here, higher order component. So that's another one down. It should still work, I hope. Try it. Avoid on. That's just gone. Submit dailies there. Submit dailies is there. The good thing about using use dispatch is you don't have the trouble of, if you forget to import or to add this to your properties, then this action creator will just not work, which is kind of annoying because it's not linked up to your store. So use dispatch would probably help with that, although then you have to remember to wrap everything inside of dispatch, which is another thing that you have to remember. Let us maybe reload. Worked. Yeah. 10 milliseconds too much is not too much. So something seems to be working at least. We should have an entry inside of our statistics. Oh, yeah. You did dailies 1 times. Correct. So that one we can do. Vector. Also dailies. Use connect over dispatch for consist. Other than that, what else do we have? We have, where's my dailies nav here? This one. I think here we can actually do something. So this one depends on the questions. Handle answer. Handle answer. Yeah, this one was totally confusing. And I'm still not really happy with the stuff that I've created now. The underlying problem being that in Redux, or at least Redux Toolkit, it's not designed so that your reducers depend on each other. In our case, however, since persistence requirements are different, I decided that, well, we have this one part, the questions. So, for example, this question, goals 2, did I do my best to set clear goals today? And then whether it's a number or a full text input. This one is persisted, but I don't want to persist the state of today's daily questions. Probably would just give me more trouble in the end. That's why I had to somehow make the one state depend on the other state. And the way I did it eventually is by having an effect function that initializes the dependent state, which Jesus Christ. It's pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible. But it does work eventually. So could get away with we could get away with using selectors to get all of this information. The trouble that I'm having is that this might be undefined, and the component first make it work, then make it pretty. Yeah, usually yeah. In this case, I make it work, and then I said, oh my goodness, I will not be able to make this better. Let's just put it to the side and never touch it again. And now, while so now currently let's remember why what we're looking for. I'm currently looking for places where I can now use Redux to make the component more independent. The problem that I'm now having is, while this full text question screen, for example, depends completely on the current question, getting this question is so freaking complicated, and it actually depends, or say it like this, the question might not be defined at some point. So I would, other people that currently use this full text question screen just have to provide the question from outside. But if it did that inside by using Redux, I would have to handle it inside that component, which I don't want, which means I don't think I will change this. I will just leave it so that it's clear that you actually have to inject all those properties, and you have to make sure that all of this fun stuff is actually defined, because this function, or doing it in this function, is just terribly annoying. And I would like to do it once instead of 4 times, as you might have guessed. Because I would need to do it here, and I would need to do it here, and I would need to do it, okay, once instead of 3 times. Or at least. And in particular, if a new question type happens to be added, I don't know, whether you, maybe a Boolean question, let's say a yes/no question, then, which is a completely new type of question. Currently, questions have types. Currently, it's points or full text, but we might add at some point Boolean. Then, well, we would run into the same problem again of having to handle that. So that said, what I want to say is, let's leave it as is. That's the long summary. The long story short. All right. That one is okay-ish. This one looks pretty much the same. Summary screen we did look at just now. Loading screen does not depend on anything. And yeah, while it's still ugly, I think the ugliness is contained. Let's say it like that. Contained ugliness is better than spread ugliness. Is that a thing? Is there software patterns, contained ugliness? Design no. Yeah, I would say contained ugliness is better than spread ugliness. Or mess, let's call it mess. Contained mess is better than spread mess. No, unfortunately, that's not a thing. But I do think it's not a terrible idea. What do you think? Would it be better to have just numerically? My question already is answered. Having the same mess 3 times is worse than having the mess once, exactly the same mess once. So, yeah. All right. I think we're done with this part. We can. Did I already search? Let's go to the questions. Put this one over. Redo dailies with Redux. Apparently I have not much. Okay, great. That's good. Because then we can just push this one up as well. And soon as that's done, yeah, there we go. We can say 23 hours ago. Interesting. Do it. Do it. Advanced search. There we go. That's another story done, even though we have all of this spread stuff. Ignore that. Where's my list? Oh, that's the wrong one. Yep. Reset and start new dailies. That's done. Whoop, 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 whoop. I haven't drunk any tea yet, just yet. Cheers, everybody. Currently drinking because it's summer. Usually when I wake up, I switch on my water boiler, or I put in some water first for safety's sake. Switch on the water boiler, and then I'm currently making fresh mint tea as well as apple. And in hot summer, you just let it cool down over time, and then it has a nice refreshing taste. Drink coffee in the morning. That's fine. This one is actually you let it cool down for the next 2 hours or something, so that you can drink it during the day at a cooler temperature when it's also hot. Currently, it's actually fairly cool outside. I just saw yesterday. I looked at the weather forecast for June because I was looking for specific opportunities to have some guests. And not a single day was above 30 degrees, which is like, wait, July? That's like this summer month. Usually it's like 33, 34, 33, 35, sometimes even more degrees Celsius here. And currently, or apparently, it's not a single day above 30 degrees. It was like, huh? where did summer go? And then I was looking for maybe some volcano eruptions 2022, but apparently there was one. Europe's tallest active volcano erupts lava into the night sky. Oh, that might actually explain it. You want how that's how I go to Spain. No, I'm just confused. Let's say it like that. It's not like I want it. It's just that it's so regular that currently I'm like, oh, okay, what? So why do I look this up? Recently I learned about some sulfur dioxide, is it? Sulfur Sulfite oxide. Sulfur oxide. Maybe. I'm not sure. One component which includes something with sulfur from volcano eruption actually cools down the atmosphere. And there was one year, the year without summer. Apparently there's also a book about that. 1816 apparently. The global temperatures actually went down tremendously because of, or most likely because of a volcano eruption in Indonesia or Philippines, apparently. Multiple, apparently. Mount Tambora. The eruption was the largest in at least 1,300 years. And then there was another one apparently slightly before that, Mayon. And these kind of particles, aerosols, they stay in the air for like a year or two and actually stop essentially not 100% sure how they work, but they reflect lots of light, which means less light actually appears on the Earth, which usually heats up the Earth. Or I don't know, it has some conductiveness or something, which then spreads into into space back the heat that we get. But probably it's more about reflection, I would expect. So yeah, apparently there was a volcano eruption, and that might actually now cause apparently 3 of them. Oh, okay. This year worldwide. So maybe that cools down this year's summer temperatures. Yeah. It was hot in June though. We had 37 degrees the other day. But only for one day, and after that it was like 17, which was also like many people actually suffered from that, I suppose. 20 degrees jump is really massive. What do you actually want to do now? So one thing that I'm currently concerned about is, so I think Google still hasn't finished the review for Google Play Store. Play console. What I have to look. Play Store. There we go. Whoop. Check this. Yeah, it's still unreviewed, unfortunately. So one thing that I'm concerned with is, so I'm currently using a pretty much self-signed version of this on my phone, of the app, which means I already have a history. If I now want to use the version from the App Store instead, which I probably want, then, because it's easier to update and stuff, then this signature will, I think, become invalid. And what I don't know for sure is how the persistence will work in that case. Whether the persistent state will actually stay, which means my history will stay and all my settings and so on. Even though I completely uninstall, because I do have to uninstall the app definitely, and then install the app from Play Store. Otherwise, Google will say, oh no, the signature is different. You probably have a hacked version on your phone. Everything is broken. And in particular, it won't do anything. So that will happen. What I don't know is about the persistence, whether the underlying store will actually be the same, which sounds to me like a security risk if it works that way. But what I what I think I know is that even if you remove an app, the store will stay. We can check this immediately, I think. If I have Expo Go on here, and I currently have this state, right? And I currently in particular have, come on, I have done one question. And I think my first question is also goals 2 instead of goals. So let's uninstall this app for a second. And now we try to at least, where's VS Code? There it is. I open this, which means it's now installing Expo Go again. And let's see whether the state or the state of the app, so storage and possibly cache, is still there. No, it's completely reset. Okay. Which means storage is not persisted apparently. That said, my history will get lost. The history of the last 2 weeks or something, which is not absolutely terrible, but still a loss. So what I want to do, the same also for app downloads from App Store, for iOS, you mean? And remove the store is gone. Ah, okay. I see. I kind of was under the impression that it differently, but I apparently was wrong. We did check that, right? Right here. So that said, I think I need an export and then an import functionality, which is also a nice feature, just for people who want that kind of information for, I don't know, something. Maybe some functionality that I cannot provide inside of the app. You need to store it in the backend, but then you need some authentication authorization. Yeah, and I would like to avoid all of that fun stuff, because that means, if I want people to authenticate, that means I need another service, or I need, at least I need to host somewhere, and then I need to have a contract with those people, for example AWS, which means my privacy policy will be just, and since I'm writing it myself, I absolutely want to avoid anything. It is free and easy, but it's trouble with the privacy policy. All the legal stuff will be much more complicated, much more complicated. I have to host in Germany or in EU. I have to, at least for EU citizens, I have to also pass all the, it's just getting too complicated to get the privacy policy, which is required by now, and you actually have to also provide or answer a questionnaire for Google, which then, I think they are currently rolling that out, maybe, where you say, well, I'm using this information for this, and that's apparently their current, either they have already rolled that out or they are rolling that out. You can actually see that in the Play Store, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, currently I just clicked on a random app. They say data privacy here, or data security. Click here to know more. Okay, that's a different one. No information available. Apparently some people have not done it yet, but I think it will. Yeah, here we go. These people actually provide a list of or a summary of all the which data is collected and for what. In this case, financial data, personal identifiable data, and other fun stuff. Even though it's a game. Because they probably save your credit card information. I guess. And I don't want to do that. I was able to do the store listing in a day. It's still annoying, to be honest. So the complete stuff of uploading an APK or AAP and filling out the forms and writing my own privacy policy and stuff. I was able to do that in a day because I've done it before. Last time it was like, whew. It was also a much more complicated setup, and it collected much more data. In this case, I want to keep it as simple as possible. The only connection that you're ever going to do is with Expo. When you restart the app, it does make a connection to Expo servers, and there it pulls the newest JavaScript. So it uses the so-called Expo manifest for that. Manifest. Got it. Yeah. Constants manifest. No. Do you think they have a different? No, that's not it. Manifest file. Yeah, that's a file basically that's hosted on the one hand part of your app, but also part of the cloud, and that one points actually to an URL, a URL, where you can download the newest version of the app, which makes it very, very comfortable to update the app. But unfortunately, it does have this connection, so it does have a dependency on Expo automatically, which I can at least not get easily rid of, and I also don't want to get rid of because the update functionality is so nice. Just one command and like 1 minute later, people can have the newest version as soon as they restart their phone, at least. Or the app. So, where did we come from? What I was saying was export and import would be nice. And yes, you are absolutely right. I think in a more official setup, if I did this for a company or something, we would probably also have legal support. And there I would go with Firebase, or typically I'm currently using AWS Amplify. At least I've used it for multiple web apps, and it's very, very comfortable to use. And in particular, it connects with Amplify. It is basically Firebase, but from AWS. Amplify AWS. Yeah, it's pretty much Firebase, but from AWS. That's all the difference there. So it can do a lot. The part that I've been using is Amplify Auth, which allows you to authenticate, for example, with Google, with Cognito, AWS Cognito, which is the identity store, or your personal identity store from AWS hosted, and all of that fun stuff. Also log in with Apple, I think, and other. I think they also allow general OAuth. So that's the one part, but they provide a lot. Push notifications. There we go. I haven't checked that one out, to be honest. Some storage stuff when you just want to have, let's say you build an app where you have like Twitter, and you can upload images. Then people can have their own storage, or shared storage. And in fact, it will be, if you're using it together with authentication, it will automatically be connected and only accessible for this one person if you're using the right storage, let's say. And all of that fun stuff. Analytics also inside of here. So this is basically Firebase as you seem to know just from AWS. And it connects to, so you kind of have to know a lot of different AWS services to actually use Amplify efficiently, I think. Partially, at least. So for example, storage, of course, leverages S3. Authentication, depending on what you use, might leverage, for example, Cognito, which you will then have to know something about. API GraphQL uses, which is it? AppDev? I don't know. it uses something. AppSync GraphQL APIs. REST uses the regular app. Is it called Gateway? Or is that? I think I'm mixing now up the names between Azure and AWS. Anyway, yeah. So that's Amplify. You're using Lightsail for containers. Yeah, nice. So, what do I want? I think I want some export and import. So let's take a look at the history. So we do already have the history, and we do already have a data model for that. That means in our very, very, very simplest implementation, we just take history, JSON.stringify history. Done. The big question becomes, how do we actually download file? Which means we have to interact with the file system. And then we're getting into permissions on Android. So Expo file system is apparently something. Downloading a file with Expo, why is it this hard? Perfectly works on Android. Setting file to download directory. Oh, this is nice. Sweet. So they use Expo permissions. From when is this answer? 2019. Okay, hopefully. Expo file system, which we just saw, which is probably the stuff that talks to the file system. Expo permissions allows you to ask for permissions. We might run into now slightly different problems because we may not be allowed to ask for permissions at runtime, but we may have to do it up front. We'll see. If we are lucky, it works at runtime. And then, so let's copy this quickly so that it's slightly easier to read. Const download file is a function that does the following. Save file is a function which is async and does the following. So saving a file okay, they're doing it here. Download async. Might want to do, let's rewrite this with async wait, wait, this point, I'm just saying of URI. There we go. So what did I do here? Download async. From there, they download a file apparently. Ah, yeah. So they download an existing file, apparently. Media library dot create album async. That's probably not what we want, huh? Expo down or write to file. Maybe like this. Oh, I think I have to switch off the lines. Okay, it's not too bad. Because it does blind me. So let's see. Read as string, write as string async. Well, that looks nice. Right. Write string async. Nice. Write the entire contents of a file as a string. So it receives contents, or it receives a string to replace the contents of the file with. Okay. The file URI or SAF URI to the file or directory. Note when you're using SAF, not sure what that is, but we will find out eventually. Oh, my hands are tired. File needs to. I can create a new file. Hopefully that doesn't work. It does work for us. So probably we want something like, close this down. Sit down, please. Yep. Yarn expo install. What is this called? Oh, minus file minus system. Yes, for bands. But probably look at this. So currently looking at documentation if you also want to check it out. It doesn't work on web, which is unfortunate because that means we can't really test it on our emulator, possibly. Ah, no, emulator is supported. Okay. Guys, please stop being tired. So our other apps, expo file system, file : $, local app file, document directory, your expo app, bundled resource. I have no idea about the file system on Android, to be honest. I hope it is similar to the Unix, Linux file system. Upload, download. Other direct URI usage. Okay, so apparently we can use write as string. Write something. Well, we'll see. Which means this is completely useless, I think. And instead, I'm going to the settings screen. We're just going to do this. We add a new view. Says, well, give me a button from React paper on press. Write history to file. maybe immediately push this one out into a new component. Call this export export history. X, yeah, nope, not you. Func props, there we go. This needs to be a view. Needs to be a view. Fact. You might just the button. What did I think about it? Button. On press. Handle press. And export history here. Then we say const handle press, the function which first of all says console log press. Pressing news. Save. So then I think we can copy all of the fun Redux stuff once again. Copy all of the fun Redux stuff. Const map state is state, which gets the root state and maps it to object which contains the history, which is state.history. Well, history. Because it's a list. I had to call it something. And get rid of that one. Import connect. Get this one. And this time, we connect immediately. Oh, I forget that. Done. And now we should be able to use history inside of here as soon as I use props from Redux. Good. Let's restart. Reload. And we should now see a new button inside our setting. And one thing that I do want to do is probably go to navigation app, just say initial route is export history. There it is. Click, rest. Perfect. Works. Ship. Next, you want write as string. Write as string async. One. Then we give it a file URI. What does that actually look like? So that file system. We do need the permissions. Otherwise we won't get far. So I'm not sure what this does. We have an example. Downloading files. Do we have uploading files? That. Download resumable. Upload or write as string. File colon // Yeah. Would be nice if I could just say guided to downloads or something. Like well, I mean, in the browser, it's basically just say, well, use a library which does it. And then you just use the library and it downloads for. I think I will use save JSON or something. So far. I don't like writing automated tests because they slow me down. How did that come up? It's a bit out of context, but I kind of understand where you're getting from. It depends on I would say it depends a lot on the project. It depends a lot on the project. In particular, whether you're working together with somebody. Are you kidding? Okay. Alias as file system, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Let's just do this. Android downloads directory path. I have no idea. Do I have to read this? Oh no, I don't want to read. Read the documentation. Oh man, I guess we have no choice. For throwaway projects, I don't write code. Yeah, I see. Kind of what we are doing here. Most of this, particularly because it all depends on connecting to or the logic actually depends on connecting to something. I also didn't write tests. I did write tests for the other project, actually, for the awesome app, for the awesome. So let's read this, apparently. So Expo File System provides access to a file system stored locally on the device. That's good. That's what we want. Within Expo Go, each project has a separate file system and has no access to the file system of other Expo projects. Okay, we are currently in Expo Go. It can, however, save content shared by other projects to the local file system, as well as share local files with other projects. Okay. It's also capable of uploading and downloading files from network URL. I don't care about that. What kind of libraries do you usually use for automated testing? And which level of automated testing? That's always a question that comes up in pretty much every team. Where should we put our focus of testing? Just a few and very comprehensive, but like system-wide tests that pretty much test actual functionality and whether everything works together properly. And a lot of stuff is covered with like 10 lines of code of, let's say, with the Cypress, for example, or low level like unit tests, and then like Mocha-Chai or Jest, for example, if you're on JavaScript, or Jasmine. Like test everything from unit to integration to end-to-end. Oh, very comprehensive. Yeah. I think in commercial projects that's absolutely useful, because you don't want to, you want to have confidence when you're deploying, right? That's the way at least I'm thinking. You want to be confident that when you change something, you come into a new project, and then yeah, you want to change something, and doing the first deployment shouldn't be like, oh my goodness, I'm going to break everything. It should be like, tests ran. I know the testing level is high, so I can be fairly sure that if the tests actually pass, my changes did not cause any trouble. And then, yeah, just deploy. There you go. Google the testing library, testing pyramid. Yeah, I know that one. Let's open it. So at the bottom, you have the unit tests, which give you the foundation. And as things go up, you kind of trim down on the amount of tests also that you write, and in particular how expensive they are to maintain. Because UI changes all the time, and it changes due to a lot of changes, functional changes, while a specific component, like for example our Redux, our slices here. This function, for example, very easy to test. Not sure how it works with Redux Toolkit, but I suppose it's similar. I mean, right here we have an action creator, so that should be very easy enough. Probably also create state and 50% unit test, 30% integration. Yeah. One thing that I've come across, but I haven't seen it yet, is things like storyboard. Yes. Project. So this is a library, storyboard, where you can render individual components. So for example, we would be able, if we have this export history button, we would be able to just render this one thing and then fiddle around with it and so on, without rendering the complete app. And they also write a lot of about testing. And one thing that intrigued me, at least, they also have, there's also stuff like accessibility testing by now. Nice. So for people who have some kind of trouble seeing, for example, or hearing, and that your app actually is compatible also for those, for people with disabilities. Yeah. So visual testing, in particular, that have chromatic. Yeah, chromatic is I think the one that I stumbled upon. Basically, they take pictures of your rendered components, and next time you run your tests, they check whether it's still the same thing. Which, for example, refactoring your CSS. Which in this case would help you to check that everything is working. It's also probably very brittle. I mean, essentially so that's the thing that I'm slightly concerned about, is if you look at the testing pyramid, it's like this for a reason, right? You have at the top, you have the UI tests. On the one hand, they are slower, they're might be more integrative, although with the help of React, still following stuff like dependency injection and coupling with Redux, they can be very, very fairly fast, at least, and easy to write, in fact. Chromatic goes one step further. What was I about to say? I was about to say that, in a sense, these are also very brittle. So writing this stuff might sometimes cause more trouble than it saves. On the other hand, it can also give you a little confidence, I think, if you have a team. I don't know. Yeah, it's just like regular tests, right? Probably. It's just like unit tests. Depending on how you write them and how comprehensive they are and how isolated, how much dependency injection and stuff you use to make your components actually isolated, unit tests might actually also, integration tests, let's say, might also be fairly brittle. With slower, they mean slower to run. Yeah. I think also slower to write to a degree, or at least slower to maintain, maybe. But you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Slower to run. But as I said, like, Jest, for example, makes it fairly fast to also have unit tests on UI level or component level tests that are fairly fast. They render it and then they compare it with a different. Yeah, if you're doing complete integration tests, end-to-end tests, it might take a while. Let's see. I think the awesome app, GitHub. That one. Do we have this? Am I logged in? No, this is all public. Okay. So here I ran them locally most of the time. Did I? Didn't I, like? Yes, it's a limit of pages. Okay. Page 12, maybe. Okay. Build and test. There we go. So this one runs apparently in 1 minute, and it includes UI tests for pretty much the complete app. But 1 minute is still slow, yeah. Right. Particularly when you want the very, very fast feedback loop of doing test-driven development, then probably only want to write logic and not. Yeah, there's a lot out there that can help. Sometimes it can also be annoying, right? You do one change, and then if the component wasn't split correctly, or the dependency injection didn't work as expected, or you're just using use effect to make API requests from your component, for example, things get annoying. All of a sudden you run into trouble and you actually change production data, or you make actual API requests to some service that you're paying for, and all of that fun stuff. Yep. And so writing isolated stuff can be very, very useful. That's one reason why I like Redux, in fact, because it splits the logic out of the component pretty much. And then you can unit test the logic. I mean, you could also do that with regular Redux, but I find that the incentives are less on that front. So it's much easier to ignore it and then just write something like use effect, make an API request, axios.get, I don't know, fetch google.com, something like that. And all of a sudden you have an actual side effect, which in your unit testing you were like, oh, what am I going to do? Because this is actually going to run, or in your unit tests on the you're doing snapshot testing, for example. Fun stuff. And with the help of Redux, you can actually avoid that using using a middleware instead to handle that. So let's get back to what we actually want to do. I have no idea how to use this. Expo example. Right as thing doesn't act as promises. Great. Can you give me an example? Somebody, please. Yeah, that's pretty much the code that we want. But where does it write to? Where does this ID come from? This path, generate file name. Where does this path come from? I mean, we can just try it, right? Let's say file colon double backslash forward. Hello.txt, or let's just call this daily questions history.json for now. We just take json.stringify history. Done. Wait, what? Yeah, options. Coding. UTF-8. Not sure whether we need that. Let's try it like this first. And I probably want to put this inside of here. Const. I don't know. What does it return? It does something async, so I suppose we use the wait. It returns void. Okay. Oh. Written. Oh, that didn't work. This location isn't writable. What if we do this? Isn't writable. Oh, my eyes are really tired. Darn. So if we aren't able to do this in 30 minutes, I think we're gonna call it a day. So let's continue. Get external storage public directory. Most devices have some form. Where am I? Android, where are downloaded files saved? Okay. Document directory. Maybe we can use this document directory here. So turn this into this. Document directory dot. This is just a string or null. They just concatenated. Okay. So maybe that works. Maybe. Written. Without an error. Hey. So something happened. Now what? Now what? Do we even have a file browser in here? Files. Virtual SD card. Files. There we go. Now what? We could just write a .mp3. Maybe it indexes it. Downloads. Empty. Darn. So it's not there. Then where could it be? Let's maybe print this. Fuck. Wherever you are. File data user 0 host x here's data. So if we go to files again, files, we go to that it? Files. Show internal storage. Maybe that one. Down. Files. Show internal storage. There it is. And then data user 0 host exp. Oh man. Empty. Notification music. Can we just search for it maybe? Daily. Nope. Pasting doesn't. Where is this? And how can we access it? Document directory. File UI pointing to the directory your user documents for this app will be stored. Files stored here will remain until explicitly deleted by the app. Ends with a trailing backslash. Oh, interesting. So it will stay there at least. Cache directory UI pointing to the directory where temporary files used by this app stored. I want to have a file, essentially a global file, right? Some file system functions are able to from but not write to other locations. Currently, able to read from URIs returned by camera roll.get photo. React Native. React Native write to storage. Write file to device. Download. Direct. Yeah, it is saved under data user 0. That's exactly the same that we now have. Pretty much. You can use React Native fetch. Writing to the root directory and you. Local bundled resources. Make directory async, move async, copy, read async, get free disk storage, total capacity. I have no idea how to get the right path. Point. Oh. That's also a completely different question. I think that's native. God, dash down. Let's try. But we should get a permissions error with this. I would expect a permission error, at least on an actual device. Rejected. Rejected. Right up here. That's too bad. It's not writable. Wait, isn't writable? Is that's not a permission error, right? To the random path. Yeah, it just shows this message all the time, whether the path exists or not. Export right to download directory folder. He wrote a tutorial apparently. Sweet. Wait. Save remote content, local file system. Export file down. 0.0. Couple of forks. Not active anymore. At least at this point, not active. Allows you to download files to an arbitrary folder on the mobile device while updating download progress and displaying notifications to about the status of the file download. New files folder in Expo isn't super obvious. Absolutely not. At least I'm not the only person. So the library is meant to bridge the gap a bit. To use the library, you need to use Expo notifications. Okay. And need to have the following. Existing notification channel, handler, and camera roll permission granted by the user. Camera roll? What exactly is camera roll? It appears to be something for camera. So why should we need something for the camera? And that this sounds fairly well together. Download to folder. Nice. Can also switch them off, huh? Just confused about the camera roll. What does camera roll mean anyway? Roll. It doesn't work. What is roll supposed? Expo permissions. Permissions. Android. Permissions. Permission. Not working. Camera. Wasn't that what it said? The other people say working. Yes. It's downloading stuff. Yes. Storage. Works perfect. Some Android devices, but some Android. Okay. Oh man. I'm slightly hesitant to add this. Using media library to save the PDF file into user storage. So it's perfect on some. Isn't that the same text that the other that somebody wrote here? Production setup. Okay. I think I have to do some reading here. Before I can continue, unfortunately. And since my eyes are tired, that's not going to happen today. That said, I think we're done for today. What did we do? Fiddled around with stuff. We did finish the which one was it? The reset, which is actually a very, very important feature. So I suppose that's going to be another version that I want to publish, in fact. And then, yeah, we kind of got stuck here on the All right. I guess we're going to continue there. Thank you so much for joining on this. Good to have you here. If you have some questions or suggestions, maybe that's the word that I'm looking for. If you have some questions on suggestions, man, I don't know. I'm tired by now. I think time to go to bed. It's already 8 o'clock. So if you have some suggestions on what we can do on stream, please also feel free to suggest some stuff. I'm also just open to look into some new libraries, as long as it's in the JavaScript world, at least JavaScript, TypeScript world. Yeah, with that, thank you so much for joining. Hope to see you next time. This was the TypeScript Tea Time with me, Mirko. Every week, usually, at least. On Wednesday, 18 o'clock Central European summertime currently, and at some point again, European wintertime, if I'm not in Japan at that point. But currently I'm streaming like from time to time, also early in the morning, as you might. All right then, thank you so much. Oops, that was the wrong button. Rate somebody. I guess we are not going to rate somebody today, but better call it a day. Thank you so much for joining. See you next time. Bye bye.